Good morning, everyone. It's Wanda with the Armchair Cat Advocate, and this video is going to be a little different. Um, I've been thinking about doing this video for a while. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do it in a pre-recorded or a live format, and I'm going to stick with the pre-recorded for now. And maybe we'll do a live at a little later date because this topic's going to be maybe a bit controversial. I generally don't get into politics on this channel, but I think it's time that I do. Really wasn't any need for it prior to January 20th to get political because, you know, people have their beliefs. And for someone like myself who's on disability, who lives in poverty, who struggles no matter who's in office, I do pay attention to politics. I do vote. I do try to be involved and informed. But quite honestly, up until now, politics weren't really, I don't like them. I mean, yes, I have followed them and I have been very mindful of things that are being voted for that could harm myself and others like me. But I never felt the need, I should say, I really never felt the need to bring it onto this platform until now. And I want to start off by saying, before I get into what I have to say, I support our veterans. My friend Susan and her husband are veterans. My father was a veteran. My grandfather was a veteran. I don't like what's happening right now. I do want to preface all this by saying, look, in the comments, I mean, there might be some very colorful discussion, lively discussion, and that's good, that's fine, but please keep it respectful, because we don't know why people vote for certain people. We don't know. And it's not fair to label everyone as a raving lunatic, because some are. You know, there are other people that voted for a particular king of the United States because they really wanted their lives to improve. They weren't doing it for nefarious reasons. They really truly believed that this person was going to get the economy under control, that their lives were going to be better. So let's not give them hate, okay? Because we're all in this together at this point, no matter what your belief is. There's going to be people that are, no matter what, they are staunch supporters of whatever. You're never going to, I mean, we see this, and I don't want to bring this up too much, but just using the example of the 3 channels that have continued to harass this channel, no matter what evidence is put before them, no matter, how detailed the documentation is, they still are looking at it and going, nope, didn't happen. Nope, you lie. Nope, didn't happen that way. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that that doesn't matter that all the text messages are there. It doesn't matter the emails, the nasty email. It doesn't matter what is shown to them. They still are in complete and total denial that they're the people that they pray to, basically, because that's basically what it is at this point. It's a cult. Cults are, all knowing, all being, all everything. So there's going to be people, that are going to follow blindly, that no matter what you do, you cannot dissuade them. No matter what you show them, they're not going to believe it. And we have to acknowledge that, and we have to just get past that. So any nasty comments that come from people like that will be deleted. But this really is about politicats. Instead of politics, we're going to call it politicats. Because this is about how the current administration, and all of the policies that they're putting in place and all the policies that they want to put in place, all the dismantling that they're doing, how it's impacting our furry friends. Because this hasn't been talked about, and it needs to be talked about. So let's talk about it a little bit, shall we? It in the surface, it may not seem like it's a big deal. It may not seem like what does politics have to do with animals? What does politics have to do with your furry friend? What does, the dismantling of all these agencies, how is that going to impact your cat? Well, it's going to impact your cat because it's going to impact you more than likely. We've already seen, and I don't know if you saw, I don't know how many people have seen this or not, but it hasn't been out there like in mainstream media or anything. You have to watch I watch a lot of the more independent news. Well, I shouldn't say they're little because they have like maybe 3 million followers or subscribers. But the people that are boots on the ground, actually digging through policy, actually doing their homework, and trying to find the truth amongst all of the fallacies. And a story that came out of this that I hadn't heard of, and I haven't done a whole lot of research on it to clarify things. I try the two women that reported, I do trust. I've seen everything that they've said has been factual as far as I can tell, so I'm not going to, I have no reason to doubt that this is as well. But apparently, funding that was cut for veterans also included funding for bomb-sniffing dogs. I mean, these are dogs that are taken into war zones, and they're the dogs that sniff out the landmines. I think cadaver dogs are probably included in that. And the funding has been cut for vet care, for food, for kenneling, all of that. That's what I mean by these policies impacting the animals. We have bird flu. It's not going away. Bird flu is going to impact our chicken supply. So rather or not, I mean, you may be a vegan. It may not impact you because you're a vegan, but that may very well impact how the prices for the cat food that you feed your cat. I mean, I guess you could switch to seafood if your cat will tolerate that, but then you have to kind of worry about the mercury and other heavy metals that fish are now filled with. I mean, really not much of anything that's safe to eat anymore. And it will be even less because of the FDA being dismantled. Bird flu also is infectious to cats. So cats can become infected through consuming birds with bird flu. And the other concern is that at some point, cats will be able to transmit bird flu to humans. Now that hasn't happened yet, but there's always the possibility that a mutation will occur. And just like humans can contract bird flu from birds, there's a possibility down the road that we may be able to contract bird flu from our feline friends if that scenario happens and things are mutated. So it's kind of important that we don't cut funding for bird flu. And researchers that were studying bird flu and trying to get a handle on this were fired. Oops. So yeah, it's a big deal. Then we're going to go and then we have issues with the tariffs. If there's Canadians watching this, if anybody's a Canadian and you're watching this, please, I apologize profusely for my country. I am so sorry. I did not vote for the orange man. I didn't. But I understand you guys have to do what you have to do. But I'm so sorry that this is happening. Veterans, I'm so sorry that this is happening. Again, I didn't vote. I don't support. I'm not getting into my beliefs much beyond that, but didn't vote, didn't support. I will say that, like I said in the beginning, I'm not that person that will unfriend you or kick you off of the channel or give you a hard time if you did vote for that person. Because I understand that people vote for different reasons, and I'm not going to generalize and say that everybody's bad who voted for a particular candidate. Because quite honestly, across the party lines, none of them really care about people like me. So for me, it's always choosing the lesser of two evils. So I just didn't think it was going to be this bad. I mean, again, I was like, I knew he was going to win. I knew it. I told my friends, he's going to win. There's no way that the other candidate, the female candidate's going to win. There's no way. And he's like, okay, all we can do is just, just see what happens. Well, we're seeing. So, getting back to tariffs. Tariffs. The Canadians, they export, I guess. Yeah, because we import from them, so they export to us. One of the things that they said that they export is aluminum. What are cat food cans made out of? Do you see where I'm going with this? This is why it's important to get political. Don't get political, get political. It doesn't matter, you're not, maybe you don't care about the other humans, but I think everybody cares deeply, 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 deeply about your furry companions. And if you care about your furry companions, you need to start paying attention. We have someone, I heard a YouTube commentator refer to J.D. Vance as a failed drag queen. No offense to the drag queens out there. We love our drag queens. We love our LGBT plus community. But what was his famous quote during the election or the when the campaign? Something about crazy cat ladies, childless crazy cat ladies. Well, that would be me. But I have to correct JD on a couple of things. Number one, I don't just vote for a person based on their party. I mean, if there was someone really good, Fantasyland, but if somebody really good came out of the Republican Party, I would have voted for them. I would. I actually liked McCain. John McCain. I like John McCain. I liked him before he kind of sold out, but I liked him. there's been some okay Republicans. I liked Barbara Bush. I wish Barbara Bush would have ran. I liked her. You know, it's funny because actually a lot of times the women, the wives, are better than the husbands. But you know, I've also had issues with the Dems. I have issues with the Dems right now. Big issues. So, you know, for what it's worth, and it may cost me some subscribers, I don't know. I'm just going to put it out there. My man is Bernie. Always has been, always will be. I like Bernie. If that makes me a socialist, so be it. But I think people should have their needs met. And I don't think it's an entitlement at all to be able to go to bed with a full stomach. I don't think it's an entitlement to be able to go to the doctors if you're sick. I don't think it's an entitlement to have a roof over your head. I don't think it's an entitlement to make enough money at the end of a 40, 50-hour week that you don't have to balance out what gets paid late this month or what doesn't get paid this month. I don't think any of those things are entitlements. I don't think it's entitlement if someone is disabled or elderly and they can't work to get some support. I don't think any of those things are entitlements. But again, if that makes me a socialist, so be it. I do worry about my cats. I do worry about, am I going to be able to afford to continue to care for them? The little bit that so far, this budget is so vague, and the numbers are vague, and really, you know, some things like they're going to be funding telehealth through, I think, September. There's some things that are good, that are, you know, that are okay in that bill. But then there are other things like they're going to be cutting funding or subsidies for rental assistance. That doesn't really impact me because, and that's why I've chosen to stay here at least temporarily and to just kind of put a pause on my looking for another place to live. Because, excuse me, this is a program where if I lose all my SSI, I don't have any income at all, I can still stay here. They won't kick me out. So that's at least, you know, a little bit of a ease on my mind that at least I won't lose my housing. So far, anyway, unless things drastically change, which they could. But with other people, they may lose their housing. What happens if they have pets? Shelters are already overwhelmed. You know, talked about this in the last video. Shelters are already overwhelmed. And then, of course, we have, you know, that huge organization, Best Friends Animal Society, pushing the agenda. Everything's supposed to be limited admission, aka no kill. But we're not going to use the term no kill because it's a misnomer. It's actually limited admission, which means they're only going to take in animals that are highly adoptable. Or as the person on the Pink channel, those of you who know, used to say, she had a really good analogy. Of course, she probably doesn't talk like this anymore because now she's in league with them. But she had a really good analogy. I mean, what she said was, it's just like getting into Harvard or another Ivy League school. The reason why they have such a high success rate in those schools is because they only accept people that they know will continue to keep that average high. They're not going to take somebody in who may struggle or need a tutor or may just be an average student, even though that's perfectly fine. Just because someone isn't an A student doesn't mean they're dumb. But because they want to have the prestige of having this elite school with elite graduates, that's the only people they'll accept. So, thank you, Pink Grifter, for that analogy. Too bad you sold out. Anyway, getting back to how this political, how the catechal environment is impacting our furry friends. People won't have housing. They're going to be on the streets if they're pets. There's not support for people with their pets now. There's a huge movement. This is why I would encourage people to look at HASS, HASS, Human Animal Support Services. Maddie's Fund. Maddie's Fund does, I don't know, Maddie's Fund doesn't seem to be as strongly advocating that animal-human bond as Haas does. Haas, I know, I'm just kind of leaning more towards Haas. Maddie's Fund is really good. Maddie's Fund offers a lot of good trainings and a lot of good workshops. But I don't, I don't see the same kind of content on there as, Haas is more geared. I mean, that's their name, Human Animal Support Services, so that that's that integrated case management that I talk about is already there. But Maddie's Fund also does some good stuff. So I would encourage people to look at that. And I've talked to I had asked a question on Haas about how is this current administration, how is this administration going to impact shelters that are funded? And they said, well, probably won't because things are funded locally. Yeah, but what if something is funded? I mean, if the federal government, and I don't know all the grant, I mean, I obviously do not have knowledge of all the grants out there, but I know there are funding streams like with the York County Coalition on Homelessness. They get funding through HUD, and then they disperse it to, because I'm on that committee, the Project Funding Evaluation Team Committee. So what we do is we have meetings several times a year. We look at proposals for funding projects, and then we decide who gets what funding and how much. And if there's issues like, well, I don't even know about diversity, equity, inclusion anymore. Because that's been kind of maligned. And that's a whole other video because I have mixed feelings on that. I understand the original intent, but I think it got a little bit out of control. And because it got out of control, it was actually used that the fact that it got out of control was used against it. Because, I mean, I've talked to agencies where they've lost funding, and I had even at least one person admit to me that maybe they did get a little too zealous on the training and shutting people down. And I think that's a big, that for me shutting people down from civil discourse is a big issue, because when you shut people down, when you don't let them speak, now if they're coming at you with hate and vile, nasty comments, that's one thing that shouldn't be tolerated. That's abusive. But someone who's like, well, what's wrong with XYZ? those are the people that you want to engage. Those are the people that you want to talk to. Because those are the people that can change their mind. And you're going to have people like, I'm one of those people that I'll say, okay, well, I agree with this, but I don't agree with that. And that's fine too. You can not like something, and just because you don't like it doesn't mean that you have carte blanche to harass somebody about it. You don't like it, unless it's causing injury or harm to a person or other persons, or it's causing some kind of damage. Let it go and walk away. And I know some people are going to say, Wanda, you should take your own advice. I should. But, folks, I didn't set out to be an advocate. I didn't. Life just decided that for me, because there wasn't anybody to speak. I mean, I didn't start, when I was a kid, I was an introvert. I still consider myself an introvert. I'm not, I seem like I have a really big personality, but most of it's fake. It's something that I've just learned to do. But, as a kid, I had a hard time standing up for myself. I had a hard time standing up for others. I just, I may not have liked how things were, but I just didn't know what to do about it. And it wasn't until I got older, and basically I was taking care of an elderly mother, and it was just us two women. And then I realized that, women aren't very much respected in this society. And I had to become a bitch on wheels, basically. Because that's the only way people would listen to me. I had to. And then I had to learn how to, okay, this is when, like, my friend Tiana, who's on this channel, I don't know where she is, but she's here. She's still a manager. I have to get in contact with her and see what's up, because she hasn't posted anything or uploaded anything for a long time. Her one of her favorite lines is, sometimes you talk and other times you need to take out the broadsword. She did a lot of cosplay, Renaissance stuff, So that's kind of, that's the philosophy that I have embraced through her is, you have to know when do you politely discuss things and when do you bring out the broadsword. Because sometimes you have to fight for things. And I think now we have to fight. And I guess, a cat channel is the last place that people would expect this kind of video. But I think it's important because nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about how politics is going to impact our furry friends. And it's going to impact them in ways that we're not thinking about. Because again, if we can't afford to take care of ourselves, how can we take care of our animals? If people are on the streets, the animals are going to be on the streets with them. And we don't have things set up to help. We barely have things set up to help people who are experiencing homelessness. We barely have the resources set up for them, let alone their animals, let alone helping them get vet care when they're on the streets, let alone helping them, get a collar or a leash when they have no money whatsoever, a can of dog food, a can of cat food, a crate, something that, if they're in an encampment. What about the people that are on the street and they make friends with a street cat? That's happened too. Or a stray dog. And then we can even get more into the weeds because there are people that end up with wildlife as their furry companions. And what do we do with that? You know, nobody wants to take in. It's hard enough to get a shelter to accept someone with a cat or a dog, let alone someone who has a squirrel in their pocket or a mouse or whatever. But to them, that animal could be a lifeline between I make it through this day or I don't make it through this day. And I'm sorry, people, I'm getting emotional because that was me, you know. I probably wouldn't be, well, I know, I wouldn't be here if it hadn't been for my dogs that I had to surrender. And that is a trauma that I will carry with me the rest of my life to the day I die. I don't see that ever going away. I don't care how much therapy, I don't care, you know, it just is always going to be there. You know, like my therapist said to me in 2020 when everything happened, because in 2020, like, everything stopped for me. I was volunteering, I was out in the community, I was doing all kinds of stuff, and then all of a sudden everything stopped. And, you know, I wasn't doing well. And then Rogue showed up. And my therapist has said to me more than once, she said, Wanda, isn't it funny that he showed up? Like, basically, he showed up when you needed him, but you didn't realize that you needed him. So I want to drive this home to everyone that the human-animal bond is something that is very real and very strong, and it needs to be preserved at all costs. So I am begging you all, if you care nothing about, I don't care, you know, well, I do care, but I understand, look, if you're a person that you don't care about the other atrocities that are happening, people being deported who shouldn't be deported, if you don't care about immigrants, if you don't care about Canada, if you don't care about veterans, if you don't care about any of that, if you have a furry companion that is your world, then you need to give a damn now. You need to care. Because I guarantee you that as things continue the way they're continuing, or the way they're going, if they continue the way they are now, it's not just going to be the people suffering. It's going to be their companion animals. I hear my neighbor got birds. She loves birds. She wanted birds so bad. This is next door. She is a Hispanic lady. And she's afraid ICE is going to come and take her away. She's legal. She's legal. She's been here many, many years. She's 60 some years old. She was robbed at gunpoint several weeks back. We don't care about our people. How do we expect them to care about our animals? So if they're not going to care, then we need to care. And we need to step up. And we need to get together as a community and figure out how are we going to make sure that our furry friends have access to vet care, have access to food, have access to water, that they don't get sick with the bird flu. because I'm seeing recalls all the time. I keep an eye on it. There are a lot of recalls because it can be in freeze-dried food. I have a bag of Stella and Chewy I will not give to Fury at this point. I have the bunny variety, but he likes the chicken. The bunny variety sometimes upsets his stomach for some reason, so I don't tend to give him that. But I'm afraid to give him that because I don't want anything to happen to him because he's my baby. You know, we had another again, you know, going back to politics, and this is not the current administration. This was under Biden. The FDA, and I talked about this on the channel before, back before the whole thing with the Pink Channel blew up. Her and I did a live about this. But the you know, let me show everyone. Okay, so this is, you see this? Doxycycline? I know. Yeah. No, you don't take that. So an old trick of, you know, to take care of colony cats. I learned this a long time ago. I used to have a horse, and where I boarded, there was a woman who also boarded, and she was a vet tech. And of course, they had barn cats. Now, this was 2008, something like that. I mean, it was quite a while ago. I don't think there was as much of a pushback. I mean, because I never heard of TNR. I don't think there was much of a push for TNR as there is now. And basically, you know, it's just barn cat situation. So barn cats had babies. And that was pretty much it. And then they either gave them away or disposed of them in other ways, and we're not going to talk about that. But that's how most, you know, that's how a lot of the barn, you know, people with barn cats, that's how they handled it. And this was an old school. This was like an elderly couple, so this was like old school barn. One of the kittens had some kind of respiratory thing, and there was another boarder. He had a beautiful Frisian horse, and he was a researcher. He's a researcher in Maryland somewhere. So anyway, he wanted to take the kitten home and try to nurse it back to health, and the vet tech said, "Go to PetSmart and get the antibiotics." She told him how to, you know, how much to give the kitten and everything. She said, "You can try." She said, "I don't know if it's going to be successful." She said, "But that's what you can do because the antibiotics are basically, you know, these are basically what humans use. This is the same thing. It's just that they aren't approved. They haven't gone through the same testing that a human antibiotic has gone through, but it's essentially the same thing." So that was the first that I've heard about that. And then as I went along and started working with the colony cats, there's even websites out there, Shelter Medicine. There's vets that give advice for education and entertainment purposes only. You know, they have the whole disclaimer there. But I mean, the reason that they do that is because they want to help people that are dealing with these cats, because quite frankly, like here, SPCA, our York SPCA won't take them. We have I don't even know of any vets that will look at a quote feral cat. They want, you know. This is what colony managers and a lot of rescues rely on, because they can't afford, they just don't have the finances. They're not big like, like the York SPCA, Second Chance Animal, whatever in Missouri. Um, the big shelters, I wouldn't even call them rescues. The big shelters that are partnered up with best friends, they're getting shitloads of money. The little folks like Feline Solutions, and there's plenty of other ones around here. They don't have that luxury. So when a cat needs some major vet care, like dental work and stuff like that, they have to go the GoFundMe route and raise money for it, and then basically put a hold on any other cats with medical cases, you know. If you can get sometimes you can get a vet, I forget what it's called, but sometimes if you're lucky, you can find a vet that will, because I worked with a rescue out of Maryland that had a vet that would do this. So the vet basically, I forget what they call it. They actually just talked about it in Maddie's kitten camp the other week. But essentially what happens is the vet will like sign off. They are like the vet on record. I think it's something. I think that's what I think is like a vet on record. So basically they're just work with there's a company, Revival, and Revival sells all kinds of vet products and things. That's where the group from Maryland got their antibiotics and stuff. So they had a vet on record. So all I had to do, if I needed something, I would let them know, and then they would get approval through their vet and then send it out to me. It was really good. It was really nice. But not all rescues have that. Not all small rescues can find a vet that will do that for them. So those rescues that can't. Now, Kayla's lucky because she has vets that are really helpful. I think her personal vets are really helpful, and they help guide her, and because they help guide her with anything that she has a problem with. They'll tell her, this is what you do, XYZ, or they'll help her out. So she does have that. So they do have that, but not all rescues have that. There are rescues that really struggle. And this is something that rescues used. They bought, because they could buy these antibiotics without a prescription. They know how to use it, just like buying a big thing of Dog Revolution and breaking it down into smaller amounts because one big thing of extra large Revolution, I think, will treat like 6 cats or something like that. So, rescues learn how to deal with this kind of stuff. Well, what happened was, one of the problems with this is that there were people that were buying it and actually using it because they couldn't afford to go to a doctor. Now, in a world that makes sense, we would look at that and go, oh my God, that person can't afford to, that person has to buy fish antibiotics because they can't afford to go to a doctor. Oh my God, we have to do something about that. We need to provide medical care for everybody so that they don't have to buy fish antibiotics anymore. That would be a world that makes sense. But we don't live in a world that makes sense. No, we live in a world that slaps Band-Aids on things in hopes that the infection that's brewing underneath doesn't kill the person. So instead of addressing the issue, access to medical care, what the FDA did was, you know what? We need to ban these. We need to ban all of it. You have to have a prescription now to treat your fish. So people who have fish can't even get these anymore. I mean, well, you can. But it's gonna cost you now. Like a bottle of this that probably used to cost like $30 is now like 80. So that was under the Biden administration. So you see what I'm saying? You know, I don't see much of it. It's just the lesser of two evils. You know, I don't see, in the middle is Bernie. And then on the other two is they're always battling out who's going to be worse than the other. So I'm not thrilled with either party. Right now, I'm really not thrilled with the administration that's in there. That's like worst case scenario. Usually it's not that bad. But on the other side of the aisle, they're just kind of like, wonder what we should do about this. This is terrible. I just don't know. What could we do? Whatever shall we do? I don't know. So, get your shit together, people. Because I have cats that need help. But, and then I will also say there are also the people, a lot of the doomsday preppers, they're also kind of to blame for this because they would buy bottles of this and then they would sell it in a pack. Like, when the world ends, here. Well, when the world ends, I think a bottle of aquarium doxy is going to be like the last thing that you're going to worry about. Make it make sense. But in the meantime, of course, then we have the vet shortage. We have a vet shortage, which, do you really think that's going to improve if people, if the Department of Education is no longer there, and people can no longer get loans? I mean, people already can't afford the loans. It's already a mess. So let's just make it more of a mess by like taking away all of the resources that people have. Income-driven payments can't apply for that anymore. I have one of those. I luckily, got into that because my head's going to explode very soon, all right? This is going to be the biggest YouTube moment ever. You're going to see But my point is, throughout this whole video, we need to resist, if not for ourselves and for the other humans in the world, then for our companion animals. Because I am telling you all right now, and you can believe what pink and beige grifters say about me. You can believe them that I'm some psycho that am weaponizing my mental illness to, I don't know, whatever. You can believe that. And you can say, oh, she's, and walk away. But mark my words, it's going to filter down to your pets. I hope I am wrong. I hope it is just the mental illness talking, but I don't think it is. Because I see too much evidence contrary to that. So those are just some of the reasons why you might want to start thinking about getting Politicatal. Or Political. Political. Say it one more time. Political. Emphasis on cat. So the other thing, I guess, too, if we're talking about, supporting the troops, there's a lot of veterans with PTSD. And there's a lot of disabled veterans out there. And a lot of those veterans have assistance animals or emotional support animals. Think about that. So they're going to be impacted too. They served our country. They deserve our respect. Well, maybe not all of them. There's probably some jerks among them. But, for the most part, the veterans that I know, anyway, deserve to be able to keep their furry friends with them. So let's keep the conversation going, folks, okay? Let's keep the conversation going and, resist. Speak out. Call your representatives, call your senators, call your congresspeople. Go to those town halls. If there's any politicians brave enough to have a town hall and you can show up, show up. Even locally. Put pressure on your city councils, put pressure on your mayors, put pressures on your governors, put pressures on your attorney generals. Put pressure on them. We have a Republican attorney general. Piece of shit. I didn't vote for him. I didn't like him when he was in the district attorney's office. But I can see that people are going to put pressure on him. Put pressure on your Dems, too. They're not exempt from this. They need to do more. We voted them in, we can vote them out. And I tell you, if what I think is going to happen happens, and our companion animals are impacted, J.D. Vance, you have no idea what childless crazy cat ladies can and will do. Just putting that out there for you, JD. No, I'm going to use the Hulu term. People familiar with the Hulu movie? Don't fuck with cats? Yeah, don't fuck with cats. And don't fuck with dogs either. Or birds. Like, my neighbor has birds. I love hearing the birds over there. The cats haven't figured it out yet. They're not... I'm surprised they're not, like, at the wall, like, what's that? I guess because they like to see the birds outside. They get to watch the wild birds. So there's my little... There's my political rant for the morning. Yes. So just remember what they do, all seriousness here, what they do at that federal level, at the state level, at the local level. It doesn't just impact you and me. It impacts our companion animals as well. And we need to make sure that the impact is positive rather than negative. So, I'm going to end it there. We'll see how many people unsubscribe. And, before I leave, let me gift you with something. Look, it's kittens in a cage. Kittens! Kittens in a cage. Kittens in a cage. Hi, Maleficent. Maleficent was out, but Abra kept growling at her, so I put her back in. Kittens in a cage. Kittens in a cage. Kittens in a cage. Say hello. 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 Boop. Boop. Oh, he's... Which one? Are you hitting the phone? Are you hitting the phone? Are you hitting the phone? And look up here. Who do we have up here? Here's our senior advisor, Jack. Our senior advisor, Jack the cat. Jack for president. Want to be president, Jack? Yeah. Well, you know, we did have a president, Jack, that a lot of people liked. Yeah, Jack. Yeah. And then when it's your birthday, we can go, happy birthday, Mr. Jack the President. Happy birthday to you. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yes, he is. He's a good boy, Jack. And here we have our Tora man. Tora. And we have a Ma Sue. And a Nif, and I don't know, looks like somebody's trying to pull the curtain down again, so I'll have to fix that. And Nif. And then down here we have Roguester. And Tora. And Mr. Boo. The kittens are screaming in the kitchen. Mr. Boo's listening to them. Mr. Boo, hey. Mr. Boo, can you look here? Mr. Boo. Mr. Boo. Mr. Boo. Hey, come here. Mr. Boo. You see the boo face? Oh, I can't see the boo face. Okay, well, I don't know what he's looking at. And Abracadabra. Hi, Abby. Abby Cadabby. And back to the Screaming Mimi. The Screaming Mimi down there. I believe that's Aurora. Because that's the one that screams all the time, isn't it? That's what I hear all the time. Yeah. All right, let me go put the big kitty food up and then I'll let you out a little bit, okay? Yeah, we got to put the big kitty food up first, though, because I don't want you eating that. You might get sick. You poop enough. Yeah. Oh, no. Maleficent. Maleficent. Okay, everyone. Thank you for hanging out with me and getting political for a little while. We will see you in the next one. So hang in there. Resist. Keep plugging away. We'll get through it together. Veterans, thank you for your support. See you in the next one. Bye for meow.